Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good day, welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. You can watch this program live on our Facebook page, that's Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You can also hear us live on audio streaming at Evox PBS Receiver app. So join us for another edition of Front and Center with your host, Jerome Toledo.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
The United States on Sunday attacked 3 Iranian nuclear sites that's located in Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. Codename Operation Midnight Hammer, the goal of that mission is to severely destroy Iran's capability to develop nuclear capability. U.S. President Donald Trump called those strikes spectacular military success as those sites, as he mentioned, were totally obliterated. Having said that, the U.S. will be joining Israel in the biggest Western military action against the Islamic Republic in the last 4 decades. The U.S. Department of Defense said on Sunday that it used bunker buster bombs to hit its targets. And no official statement yet from either Washington or Tehran regarding the intensity of the damage that the United States attacks has caused. And earlier this month, President Trump said that Iran is not allowed to have nuclear capabilities. That's in light of the June 12's Israel military strike on Iranian nuclear facilities and eventual killing of Iranians' top military generals. Meanwhile, Iran vows to retaliate and threatens that the airstrikes on the Iranian territory will have an everlasting consequences on the United States. And U.S. allies across the globe are calling for de-escalation of the conflict, while the Arab nations lamented Washington's actions towards Iran. The Philippines, meanwhile, has called for de-escalation of tensions and called on concerned parties to pursue diplomacy. And later in the program, we will have more details and more analysis on this conflict, as we're going to talk to a security analyst and the president of the Manila-based International Development Security Cooperation. That's all coming up when Front and Center returns after these messages.
Time to celebrate kulturang Pinoy. Tradisyon, musika, sining, literatura at iba pa. Anything and everything fun and Filipino. Ito ang Pinoy Kultura.
Experts say this, journalists write it, and we promote it. Sadyang malikhay ng Pinoy, yes? You hear that all the time. We merge dishes like sinigang na corned beef. We mash up songs for a laugh like Señorita by Shawn Mendes.
I love it when you call me Señorita. Pintig ng puso ko'y para sa'yo.
And Lumayo Ka Man Sa Akin by Rodel Naval. And there's the timeless practice of Pinoy parents naming their kids after their meshed names, like Jovelyn or Benjamin. Pero ang isa pang mahilig ko tingtingin ng Pinoy ay language. Mga salitang Tagalog na minerge or completely inimbento, pauso. Street words or slang, made-up words or familiar words with made-up meanings only a Filipino would know, like praning, anyare, and some that have even made it to the Oxford English Dictionary, like bongga, defined as flamboyant or excellent. Bahala na, balikbayan, high blood. Yup, they're in the Oxford English Dictionary. Look under Philippine English along with other Filipino coined words. The OED has an entire Philippine English piece on it. The first editions were plant or animal names like abaca and tamarao. Recent editions include kilig, pandesal, and traffic as an adjective. defined as marked by slow movement of vehicles or congested. Filipino lexicographer Danica Salazar says the Philippine-sourced editions legitimize Philippine English as a variety in its own right. The words that got in did so from observed use online in publications and through linguistic studies. It'll be interesting to see what other Filipinized words make it next. What about Keri o Marites?
Yan ang Pinoy Kultura because our culture is cool.
And welcome back to Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service with me, Jerome Toledo. And we have now on the line the security analyst and the president of the International Development and Security Cooperation. That's Professor Chester Cabasa to give us analysis regarding the Middle East conflict, particularly this Israel-Iran conflict. And good morning, Professor Cabalsa. This is Jerome Toledo of Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Thank you for accepting our call.
Hi, Jerome. Thank you for having me in your show. Thank you.
Okay, so...
Good morning, everyone. Yeah.
Morning. Okay, so what is your assessment on the U.S. attack on 3 nuclear facilities in Iran last Sunday?
Okay, you have to remember that the reason why perhaps the U.S. attacked Iran's nuclear bases mainly because of the ambition of Iran to possess nuclear power. Definitely, that is something that the U.S. and Israel are against at the moment because this would try to demonize or weaponize the region if in case Iran would become more stronger. That's the reason why, first, to stop them or to halt them from that ambition, they have to use arms, basically, which I think that the reason why they have attacked Iran recently.
Okay, so do you believe that Israel and as well as the United States did the right approach in disabling Iran's nuclear capabilities? Because if you can recall, Professor Cabalsa, on Friday, June 13th, I guess, the Israel military attacked Iranian nuclear facilities in key cities, and also they killed the top general of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Yeah.
So,
Well, for me, I do not subscribe to that kind of attack, and of course, because of course, we in any conflict or war would entail violence and death, and the mere fact that we have killed top-notch generals and nuclear scientists from Iran, I think that is not acceptable to international rules-based order, and definitely there's a genocidal tendency coming from Israel. And I hope that this would not escalate and diplomacy would prevail. And I think that's the reason why, of course, the world is split when it comes to this kind of decision towards the attack of Israel and the U.S. to Iran, mainly because they are using force, which basically contradicts the democratic values of the United States. When in fact, of course, the reason why diplomacy should be working on the favor because that's the thumb of rule when it comes to conflicts. Wars.
Yeah, but of course, the United States before they conducted these attacks, they said that they are open for a negotiation with
but
Iran.
the negotiating table failed. Iran's foreign minister was saying that they were in the negotiating table. They sat with the U.S. and Israel, and all of a sudden they received attacks and missile attacks from them. So the point here is that we wanted them to resume the talks, sit down again, and mend their differences, because ultimately the world is suffering right now. We cannot afford another war this time around in the Middle East because, of course, it has repercussions when it comes to the economy and to international trade order.
But can we say now that we are heading into a bigger conflict?
The escalation of the conflict in Iran and Israel will be felt, but I don't think that this will come harbinger for another for World War III. So I hope that world leaders would come together, and definitely they would restrain Iran from using more for building its nuclear program. And I hope that Israel also would be calm enough and no longer attack and sit down and think of world peace.
Mhm. And that could adversely affect the global security regarding this situation in the Middle East.
Definitely, it would affect because, of course, you have China that are supporting Iran, and of course, Russia, Ukraine war has not yet been ended. So the world is in chaos right now. We see an uncertainty in the world. So definitely, diplomacy should be the top agenda of every nation. And I hope that, of course, this will not escalate into further more global conflict.
Okay, so I'll proceed to another topic, but same topic rather. But let me see here. Some nationalities, Professor Cabalsa, including American citizens, have evacuated its people from Iran and Israel. And meanwhile, our Foreign Affairs Department said that embassy would not close and ordered its Ambassador Manalo to stay put. I read an article also that some ambassadors of some foreign countries are ordering their or yeah their ambassadors will return to their home
Yeah,
country.
yeah.
Is that
For me,
justified?
of course, you know, our offices, our Filipino diplomats should stay put because in the Middle East, because we have a national interest in the Middle East. We have overseas Filipino workers there. And remember that these Filipinos working in the Middle East are the heroes of our country. They bring money, they boost our economy. That's the reason why they need to be protected. And I think that's a national interest for the Philippines, our overseas Filipino workers. So I hope that this conflict will de-escalate, which I think is everybody's agenda right now. But the question there, who are the right persons or the right actors, international actors who should be convening to discuss this matter? I think the three countries, mainly Israel, Iran, and the U.S., are the only actors that could contribute to world peace. They have to sit down together, mend their differences, and stop all this, because otherwise, further escalation of this regional conflict would affect the economy because sources of oil and food comes from the Middle East.
Okay, so my last question, Professor Kabasa, before I let you go. Should this Iranian nuclear deal, or I'm sorry, the peace negotiation between Iran and the U.S. Push through, should the United Nations intervene?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There has to be more negotiation, dialogue, talk. That's part of diplomacy. Otherwise, if we stop talking, then they will just shoot each other, attack each other. Then it's not possible. Diplomacy works because there is trust and respect from each other. Let that trust and respect enhance and nurture the regional security landscape of the Middle East. And I think we hope that we could attain that.
Okay, sorry, just one more point. Okay, so what can we expect moving forward, given that the situation is already heated up?
We need alternative mechanisms through multilateral dialogues or diplomacy, and ASEAN and European Union are very good at that. So we need third parties to mediate between Israel and Iran because the US has already engaged in that war. So if we have third parties who are neutral about the situation and they could offer solutions to the problem, then so be it. We accept that. And I hope that ASEAN, with the help of the Philippines, will be able to become a catalyst of change and would offer solutions to these regional conflict in the Middle East.
Mhm. And the Philippines will play a key role in this negotiation. Should this push through?
That depends. If because I think because of course we have to give credence also to Malaysia because Malaysia is the chair of ASEAN right now, and next year will be the chair. If the war escalates until next year, then I think it's a time where the Philippines can step in and become more proactive.
Okay, very well said. And with that, thank you so much, Professor Chester
Thank
Cabalsa,
you.
for joining us in the program. Have a good day. Okay, you just heard Professor Chester Cabalsa, the security analyst and president of the Manila-based International Development and Security Cooperation, or IDSC. Front and Center will be right back after these messages.
Paliwanag mo sa tao na hindi totoo yan.
Dahil ang totoo, yung totoo ang dapat ninyong malaman.
Nagkalat sa internet ang fake news
Ang
o
ginagawa
mali
ng
at
fake news, tinatakot niyo yung tao.
What they are doing is creating panic.
We say no.
Yung pagkalat ng fake news. And some of it's dangerous.
Sana iwasan po natin pag-spread ng fake news.
At di magpapakalat ng disinformation at misinformation ang kasulukuyang administrasyon.
Stop telling us fake news because you're wrong.
Para sa totoo at mapagkakatiwalaang mga balita at impormasyon, Radyo Pilipinas.
This is a public service announcement.
Discipline is the key. Umiwas sa aksidente sa daan. Ang pagmamaneho ay may kaakibat na responsibilidad. Hindi basta mapaandar lang ang sasakyan. Kilatisin ang sarili, ang kahandaan sa manibela. Siguruhing inyong konsentrasyon ay hindi magagambala. Importante rin na ating laging isipin, init ng ulo ay huwag pairalin. Bagkus, kaligtasan ng lahat ang siyang dapat unahin. Isang mahalagang paalala mula sa Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko, 738.
This is a public service announcement.
Public service announcement.
From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko, 738. This is a public service announcement.
Maging handa sa oras ng sakuna. Para sa iyo at sa iyong pamilya, laging siguruhin. Go Bag ay nakahanda at naglalaman ng mga sumusunod. Ilang pirasong damit, ready-to-eat na pagkain at inuming aabot ng 3 araw. Personal na gamit para sa inyong hygiene. First aid kit kabilang ang alcohol, bandages, gamot sa lagnat, ubo at sipon, pati na rin ang inyong vitamins at maintenance medicines. Maglagay ng pito, flashlight, lighter o posporo. Huwag kalimutan ang mga charger o power bank. At higit sa lahat, isama ang mga importanteng gamit gaya ng inyong mga legal na dokumento, IDs, ATM o passbook, insurance at iba pa.
This is a public service announcement.
Public service announcement.
From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service and Radyo Pilipinas.
Huy, nabiktima ka na ba ng fake news sa panahon ng digital media? Learn how to spot fake news. Check the source. Kung di legit, dapat magduda. Check the purpose. Informative or troll post at clickbait lang. Check the ownership. Mapagkakatiwalaan ba ang pinagkukuhanan nito? Check the time and date. Baka naman outdated na yung news na yan, ha? SPOT. Together, let's spot fake news. Tiyakin ang katotohanan, fake news ay labanan.
A friendly message from PCO, DepEd, CHED, DSWD, DILG, PBS at Radyo Pilipinas.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
And we're back here at Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service with me, Jerome Toledo. And the Philippines has expressed deep concern over the latest security developments in the Middle East, calling for restraint and diplomacy amid fears of escalating conflict involving Iran, Israel, and the United States. In a statement of the Department of Foreign Affairs, they said that the Philippines is greatly concerned over the developments in the Middle East in the last few days or hours. The agency stressed that the safety and welfare of Filipinos in the region remain the government's top priority, with Philippine embassies in the Middle East on standby to assist affected nationals. The department said that the welfare and safety of Filipinos in the region are of primordial concern. So that's their primary concern, as they say. And the Philippine government will relentlessly continue to advance and prioritize their protection. And the Middle East hosts an estimated 2.2 million Filipino workers, many of whom are based in Israel, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Bahrain. And there are 30,000 Filipinos in Israel, most of whom are employed in the caregiving and domestic service sectors. And also in Iran, there are 1,180 Filipinos, most of them married to nationals. The Philippines earlier raised the Alert Level 3 or voluntary repatriation in Israel and Iran due to the conflict, urging Filipinos to take necessary precautions and avail of repatriation assistance when needed. The statement comes as regional tension flare following U.S. airstrikes against or targeting Iran's nuclear facilities. And U.S. President Donald Trump warned of more attacks if Iran does not make peace. And Iran said the U.S. opted for a dangerous military operation and aggression against its people, and it reserved all options to defend itself. So that's after Iran experienced attacks, waves of attacks from the U.S. and Israel. And the U.S. airstrikes came as the Israel-Iran conflict entered its second week of back and forth attacks.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
And with that issue on in the Middle East, particularly the Israel-Iran war, we conclude this edition of Front and Center together with Radyo Pilipinas World Service production team and technical personnel. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay, love the Philippines.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.